Hi, friends. We would like to just welcome you today. I am so excited. We're having an interview with two very special ladies, which names you can see on the screen. It's Frances Kaplan and Jacoline Rudman. They are both from the Neuro Diversity Hive, but they have special stories. They've got special passions. And we are going to ask them a few questions today just to hear what they do, why they do it, and how that really gives some meaning and help to our community. So, welcome, you guys. Welcome, Frances. Welcome, Jacqueline.
Thank you. Thanks for having us.
Okay, guys. So, I want to introduce you to them. They have been around in the special needs sphere and personally just they had journeys. They have journeys up until now. So Frances got her honours in educational psychology with 13 years of experience in the field, which is very impressive, Frances. We're very excited to hear what that is all about.
Thank you. But I'm just quickly going to correct you because it's a master's in psychology. We're not allowed to practice without the master's. So,
I'm sorry.
No, that's okay. I just don't want people to think I'm not qualified.
No, for sure. It's a master's in educational psychology. And then Jacqueline has got her honours in occupational therapy with 8 years experience in the field and in the sphere of special needs. Guys, welcome. I am so excited to speak to you. And I think I'm going to just kick off and ask you, Frances. So, how did you decide initially to start this journey in the special needs in the special needs environment? Let's call it that.
Yeah, I don't think I decided at all. I think it was decided for me. So when I finished my honors, it was looking for work because as an honors qualified counselor, there's very few opportunities. And I found a job at a school in Johannesburg for children who had mild to moderate cognitive disabilities. And I think that's where the chucha bit me. So once I'd spent time there, it was, look, I'm going educational psychology. This is the way I'm going to go. So yeah, it wasn't the plan. It wasn't the route I was going to go. It definitely is something that found me, and it's found me over and over again as the years have progressed.
That's great to hear. And then Jacqueline, if we can speak to you, where did your journey start?
So I started in pediatrics about 8 years ago, working in sensory integration therapy or sensory integration practices, where that was the biggest approach we would use. But I've also worked in many schools, and then I worked at a remedial school, and most of the population there had major speech impairment, and that would be for various reasons. And the population that I would see there was a lot of ADHD and autistic clients, and I just fell in love with it. Like it was, I would eat, breathe, and sleep autism, and I just did as much training as I could in it. And then I moved the practice and started my private practice in Pretoria. And it's almost like it just gravitated to me. And I got a lot of referrals, not being specifically situated at a specific school, just being in the private practice, and then just doctors and schools just referring these very interesting, intricate cases. And yeah, I almost want to say it also just happened. And it's just something that's evolved that way. And I just love working with actually any kind and type of neurodiverse client, and that also includes clients who's got sensory processing difficulties, which is a big thing in OT as well, obviously. So that's my story.
It's always so interesting to me, like you say, but you know that you wanted to work with autism, because autism, like you say, is interesting, but it is not the easiest condition to work with. It's interesting, it's diverse, is obviously there's lots of different people presenting it differently, but there can be very challenging by behavioral issues going with autism, right? Which I think can make therapy hard. But like you say, I believe some people just get autism and neurodiversity better than others. Francis, before we started with the interview, you said something about your personal experience with autism. And do you want to speak to us about that? Because there's a host of parents with children listening to you. Yeah.
So what I was thinking now was, as you were speaking about autism, I can tell you I never wanted to work with autistic kids. I was not going to do that work. I did not understand it. When we were learning about it in masters, I was like, I'm not even going to listen because I ain't going to do that work. It's not for me. Little did I know that the 2-year-old daughter I already had, who was not sleeping and not going according to what baby sense she was supposed, she wasn't doing what baby sense said she was supposed to be doing. And little did I realize that I had an autistic child. So whether I liked it or not, I was already doing it. I was knee deep in it, right? So that is where, and I only got the diagnosis for much, much later. So autism did find me. I started working with it. And I started realizing that this little gift that I had and this little child that was not following the developmental model that I'd been taught and that was not responding to attachment theory the way that she was supposed to, I could see the signs. And when I eventually felt brave enough and ready enough to hear it, I then started with the assessments. And came back, and I do have a daughter who's not just autistic, she's ADHD as well. So I get all the neuro spice you can imagine. And I think once I really got into the diagnosis and understanding it and living it, I realized that there is so much misinformation, and that misinformation was given to me way before I even started studying psychology, because I had a blueprint belief system about what autism and ADHD was. And so a lot of my work was around first dismantling those belief systems, the knowledge that I had to dismantle those belief systems, and then I had to start recreating and building. And luckily for me, I found the neurodiversity affirming movement. It resonated with me. It resonated with the way that I parent my child. And it gave me permission to not try and fix this little being, but just love her just for who she is, and to see all the wonder and splendor that she brings. Not that we don't have, that we don't struggle. It's hard. I'll own it. But she's been a very big part of the journey in getting to where I am now. So definitely there's the professional knowledge, but there is when I often say to parents, I'm not just talking the talk, I walk that walk. So when a parent is sitting here and they're crying and they're frustrated and they don't know what they've done wrong, I've got the t-shirts. I've got it. I promise you I've been there. Maybe not exactly the same, but yeah, I've been there.
And that's so important for us as parents, because I told someone this week that, if someone without the experience in some way speaks to you, you do listen, but with half of your ear, because there is some things that words cannot explain, training cannot explain. All the theories in this world do not really solve. And it's great. It's great, Francis, that, to know that there is that experience that you can apply, because that's really appreciated by parents, I can tell you, from my side. But I want to get into that. I want to get into the neurodiverse affirming, right? Affirming approach that you guys then follow in the practice. Jacoline, is there some definition you can give us, or just an explanation that makes this more clear?
So when we look at the neurodiverse affirming care or approach to therapy, it's way different from what we are used to. So initially, when you educate people in it, or when you start especially if it's parents who or people who still has like those belief systems that Francis is speaking about. And these can also be parents with kids who's neurodivergent, because it's difficult. It's almost like, there's something more to it, and everything we're trying is just not working, but it's supposed to be working, because all of our therapists are telling us this, and I've read up so many times about it, and this is supposed to make sense, but it's just not working. So the whole idea around the neurodiversity affirming approach is to see the brain as a neurodiverse brain, which means the brain is functioning, all of its parts, in a different way, which should be celebrated and not be pathologized, as it has been. So we, as like in the medical profession, and with all the history around it, it's been put into a little box. These weird behaviors we're seeing, these funny symptoms we are seeing that looks different from most of the rest of the world. That was done to almost just make it more manageable, controllable, to make sense of it. But if we look at neurodiversity the way we would look at nature, where there's a biodiversity going on, so things can still be part of nature, but it looks different in different environments. A flower would look different in this environment, in different seasons. So the whole idea around it is that we are not trying to say that there's a disorder or something wrong, and it's not something we want to fix. We want to see this individual as a neurodiverse individual or neurodivergent individual, and celebrate that, to also understand what makes this person unique in their way. And if I can give an example, I've had many chats, even with other professionals, other OTs. If we take stimming behavior, for example, that is a way that our population use to regulate. We all have our things that makes us regulate throughout our day. Someone might drink a lot of coffee. Someone might bite the end of their pen a lot. Someone might tap their foot a lot. If we look at stimming behavior, like flapping or pacing up and down, that is a way that they regulate. And often what I've heard is, okay, well, and the thing is, the clue there is they're trying to regulate. So what works for you to regulate? And previously, we would want to stop the stimming behavior or replace the stimming behavior, if I can say, for lack of a better word, with more socially appropriate and acceptable ways to regulate. And that is something, for example, we want to move away from, because it's making other people feel uncomfortable. Okay, well, can you sit with it? Can you deal with it? Because this is actually working for this little guy, or for this teenager that we see, or for this adult that's been working for 20 years. They have their things and their quirks and their weird little things that they do to manage, to cope. So our whole approach is not to fix anything or to change anything, but to really celebrate, understand this individual, celebrate them. And we work very closely with the families. How can we support you as a family and the individual to cope better? What are your goals? Do you want to finish school or a certain grade in 2 years instead of 1 year? The whole thing is, what is right for that specific person and individual? And if we then look at behavior, also not forcing anything, or taking a very behavioral approach to it, to say, we need to fix the behavior as well, whatever that behavior might be, a meltdown, a tendency to get aggressive when they're overwhelmed. It's just looking at it differently, looking at what does the behavior communicate, for example. So it's a very
what I hear from you, sorry, what I hear from you, there's a huge acceptance motivation behind the diversity in order to not try to make it, like you say, something to be fixed. For us at Parent Reality, we've got this whole thing about the grieving process, and that whole place where you come that you want just everything to go away and make it better or fix it. And that's actually across all the special needs that we work like that. But so I hear a lot of acceptance of the condition and actually just the different way of living. Is that right, Francis, if I say that?
Yeah. So when I talk about neurodiversity and affirming, neuro,
Yes.
brain, diversity, difference, and Jacoline has just explained that beautifully.
Yes.
It's a different
Yes.
brain. It's a neurotype. It's nothing more than that. Affirming, what are our morning affirmations, right? You'll stand in front of the mirror, you'll be like, you've got this, you're amazing, you're worthwhile. That's it. That's what neurodiversity affirming is. So we do not pathologize the child. We do not see a disorder. Do we? Lots of parents will then say, but it's so hard. How can you say there's no disorder? We're not saying there's not a disability. In the wrong environments, with the wrong structures and the wrong support, it is very disabling. We see families breaking apart. We see parents wanting to give up. It's hard, but it's not a disorder. And if we are going to treat this, let me explain it this way. What Jacoline was describing with the behavioral stuff is the tip of the iceberg, right? So we see a lot of the behavioral stuff here. Even when we diagnose autism and ADHD, it's diagnosed behaviorally. But lying under this iceberg are all of these things going on. And that is where we work. We work under the iceberg. So yes, the behavior is difficult, but if you've got an autistic child, good luck. Star charts, rewards, punishment, good luck. If you get your kid to do it, please tell me how. I'm willing to pay for sessions as well. It doesn't work. Our kids are strong-willed. And that little amygdala of theirs is just totally in control. So we are not going to fix it with a top-down approach. So we come in from the bottom. We work as a team, and we're going to see what is underlying the behavior we are seeing, and what can we do from the bottom to support that kid. And I think that really is what the neurodiversity affirming movement is all about, is saying that our children are not disordered. They are fine.
It's wild, right? It's wild for us being in the game for a long time, It's totally different. You spoke about the transdisciplinary team. What exactly is that?
So a number of different individuals from different disciplines working together. Yes. Let me explain it to you in terms of practice. Every Friday, our speech therapists, occupational therapists, psychologists, counselor, we all sit together and we bring our cases to the table. And then the speech therapist is able to listen to my case presentation and go, but Francis, I'm picking up on this. Have you thought about that? And Jacoline chimes in and she says, but hold on, I'm seeing a little bit of this. Have you seen that? And even the other psychologist, who's very, very much trauma informed, she'll be like, no, I'm actually seeing the following. So we're able to take across disciplines all of this knowledge. We're able to put it together. We're able to help one another. And then we're able to translate that into a service for the child, the individual, or the family. So when we're talking about transdisciplinary, it's not just we working together in the same building. No, we are connected, and we don't do things that would be considered socially appropriate. And what I mean by that is not that we're sitting without underwear in a meeting. What I mean by that is that we are breaking boundaries. We are looking for information. We're willing to do things differently. Because we know that a lot of and many of us that have had our kids, we've been through the process, we've been to many professionals. Sometimes the people that arrive by us, you're number 12, it's not working. We know that the systems are not working. So we are willing to do whatever we need to do to try and bring about positive change.
This is really amazing. And I would say, I'm sure any parent listening to this, like, yes, this is wonderful. So, okay, so we have to start wrapping up, but I want to ask you, so you guys are practicing in Waterkloof, Pretoria, right? That's where your practice is. And then how do parents get hold of you?
So we have a website, the Indie Hive, and we are on social media as well, the Neuro Diversity Hive. On these platforms, we have the info at neurodiversity or at indiehive.co.za, our email address. Then there's the contact number for our reception. Johanni is our receptionist. She handles all the bookings, all the queries, books all the assessments, intake interviews, etc. So if there's anything like that, then they can find us on there.
Great. And we'll also post a link down here on this interview post, so people will be able to find us there. And then just to finish off, I want to ask you guys, both of you, if you have just a short word of encouragement to any parent with a neurodiverse child, what would that be? Frances, what's yours?
The first thing that comes to mind for me is just, you are not alone. I think I say that all the time, because you are not alone. There are many of us.
Yeah. Jacoline?
That's exactly what I wanted to say, but I think if I obviously, but I think if I can add is to say that how can I say this? So I think our approach is so different in so many ways, but for me, the parent is the most important part, the client as well, but the most important part of the team. And we hear you. Your lived experience is the thing that we want to hear. It's important. How you experience it, what's happening actually in your life, in your house, in your home, when no one is around, when your therapist isn't there, we hear you and we believe you. And we really want to, we really want to help and assist. And I think the parents are the crucial part that's often not heard, the missing part, when we think of therapy goals and how we are going to make everything better. So here it's just come to us. We hear you. You belong. Your child, your client, whoever it is, belongs, and the parents as well. We want to support you as well. I think that's a big thing.
Can I add one more thing?
Yes.
May I just add one more thing? It's the second line. It's the second line. One, you are not alone. But number two, this is not your fault, right? Because when we go to therapists, it's always about the parenting that had to be done better or different, or I don't know, you're not trying hard enough, or you need to be firmer. I call BS. It is not you. This is not your fault. We've got your back.
Thank you, you guys. That's really encouraging. I loved listening to you guys, and I really believe that what you've got is special. It's different, like you said, and we need different, we need different. So parents, I hope you had a wonderful listen today with us and a watch to just meet these two wonderful ladies, and do that. If you want to get to them and just experience their service, contact them. Let's see if they can help you with your child. Have a great day. Thank you so much for tuning in today, guys. Bye-bye.